In the Stephanie Alexander Kitchen Garden program, we teach children how to grow, harvest, prepare and share fresh seasonal food.
It was my idea that if you gave children the opportunity to learn about food in the most enjoyable way, by digging in the garden, by gathering crops they'd grown, by bringing them into the kitchen and learning how to cook simple and delicious dishes, that they would develop different and more positive attitudes to food for the rest of their life.
In the kitchen, it's important that the core skills are taught clearly and safely.
I think it's very important that the kitchen specialist really understand that many of these kids are scared of these knives. So the very first thing is that whilst we want them to be very safe, we don't want them to be frightened. So it's go through it carefully over and over again and make sure that every time you're having a kitchen class, you're reinforcing the most important things: the placement of the knife, not to leave knives in soapy water, not to play games with knives, not to run around the kitchen holding a knife.
Repetition through practice provides positive reinforcement of safe techniques. Students grow in confidence as these skills are repeated and their capability improves.
We do an introductory course which is based roughly on the food hygiene and safety course that I teach in hospitality. So, and what they do is they learn about knife safety, they learn about bacteria and sanitising and cleaning. And, well, I find knife safety one a really important one because, well, so far, touch wood, we haven't had a major accident with a knife, and I think it might be working.
Many of the children will be very excited on their first kitchen class, so they need to understand their kitchen, they need to know where things are kept, they need to understand how to secure a chopping board by putting a damp cloth underneath it, and you can demonstrate how without one it wobbles about and is definitely unsafe, but once they've got a damp cloth underneath it, it becomes a very rigid, good surface to work on. That's point one. And then I think probably some straight out chopping, slicing practice, something straightforward like slicing a carrot or slicing a potato or something that's not I think chopping onions is quite a difficult task and should not be lesson one.
A lot of kids come into the program and they're not allowed to cook at home. They're certainly not allowed to use a large cook's knife. So for them it's just a wondrous thing, but also in their minds they're thinking, wow, I'm being treated differently here. But part of that is instead of me saying the rules, I ask them what they know. And then I ask them to show me what they think is a safe holding technique, what they think is a safe walking technique, and why. Because there's no use me just saying these are the rules without them actually understanding intrinsically why they are so important. So we go through that and we do a lot of miming and a lot of practicing before we actually start using the knives.
Once you've shown the students how to hold a knife correctly and how to chop and slice correctly, it needs to be reinforced at every class. So nicely, but do ask your volunteers to keep an eye on this too, because they may not have those skills themselves. So it makes sense to make sure your volunteers, first of all, know how to hold a knife, know how to slice, know how to chop, so that they can keep an eye on the kids in the class.
Kids definitely grow in confidence throughout the year. They come in as a blank slate, and through their experiences you see them building upon their knowledge throughout the year.
Reinforcement is just so important, going over things in a way that is helpful rather than finger wagging. I think that's very important. And understanding that not everybody learns at the same rate or in the same way. Some children may need to feel or touch more than other children, and it's very important that the kitchen specialist gets to know his or her class.
So it's really just about being really sensible and watching what you're doing and thinking ahead. So, if I'm
the more that they can do for themselves, the less they're going to be using the fast food chains. And they're going to realise, okay, sharp knife, very important, one of the rules. And they'll go, well, now I can easily do this and it'll take less time than actually walking down to the shop, paying for it, coming back, having a lukewarm meal. So it's how to use the tool effectively to benefit them later.
For me, it's very inspirational to watch a really good specialist at work. They manage to engage all the children to make them curious and interested, at the same time as making sure that the volunteers who assist them also understand the aim of the particular class.
The things that they've really improved with, I can just tell them, I don't have to remind them every week, this is how you use secateurs, this is how you hold a wheelbarrow.
And it's really wonderful to see that over a period of probably even a month, so 4 lessons, a child that's never walked with a knife, never picked up a knife, let alone cut with a knife, to see how quickly, by giving them time to explore the knives, but also the respect and the responsibility, that they work really well with the knives. And then I always bring it back to them and say, do you remember when you walked into this kitchen, how scared you were? Now you know how to use the knife. Do you feel that you've learnt something? Do you feel confident? And they're like, yes.
I think the best bit of today was sharpening the knives for me.
We also discuss that I'm giving them a lot of respect, that I will expect of them to be responsible. And so I'm trusting them. And they need to also respect themselves and the other students and be safe.